Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as we talk our Manchester United back in a title race. We'll also talk about 24 hours left for bidders to go in for Manchester United. Where do we stand? What has to happen? We'll explain that. And also, let's not forget what a massive game we've got this weekend, tonight, not this weekend, tonight, Manchester United, Barcelona. I might have said a few things that have sort of spiked the interest from Barcelona fans in the Premier League and Manchester United. This happens every year. You forget how sensitive Barcelona and Real Madrid fans are. I don't know whether it's the Barcelona Real Madrid fans that actually live in Spain. I suspect it's more Darren from Norwich and Steve from Stoke, and John from Durham, who've got like Barcelona kits and Real Madrid kits, because they get really, really sensitive when you say that the Premier League's better than La Liga. They still think they've got the better league. So, a lot of interest in that game to come later. But look, let's fly straight into this. I want to talk about the 24-hour deadline for bids to go in and where we are with that. Men against boys last night, back to reality, says Robert McCormack. Yes, Arsenal obviously losing last night. We're going to talk about the title race in a moment. But yeah, very big 24 hours for Manchester United. I mean, for me, the biggest thing is Barcelona tonight. But obviously there's a bigger picture here that will dwarf the Barcelona result tonight. No matter what happens, even if we win, the future of Manchester United really does reside in where we are with the ownership. So we'll talk about that. Two things have got to happen for people to put a bid in for Manchester United. Little bit of a warning as well. We might not have new owners by the summer. And I don't know why people think that we're definitely going to have that. There was a really interesting article that came out last night in one of the business papers explaining that this sale could take beyond the summer. So it's interesting where that information's coming from, that we will be owned by new owners in the summer. And I think we need to start opening our eyes to that, because I think people are just ignoring the January transfer window because we'll have new owners by the summer. And there's a lot of people who are going, why do you think that's going to happen? So we'll talk about that as well. You guys are going to get whacked by Barca, says Dano. Yeah, okay. All right. Your name's not Dano. Stop trying to sound like you're from Spain. Your name's Dan and you're from Stoke and you've got a Barcelona kit. That's what you are, Dan. You're not Dano or Danilo. Your name's Dan from Stoke, and you support Barcelona. But what a stupid video for Beth on De Gea, says Ibrahima. Well, some people agreed with it. If we're to get Mbappe, then who plays down the left and down the middle between Rashford and Mbappe? Michelle, I mean, these problems are not something that would keep me up at night. I mean, if you're seriously concerned about where Mbappe plays in the United team, you're way ahead of the game, mate. You're way ahead of the game. Let's worry about those problems if it actually happens. So look, the first thing I want to talk about is topical. I do want to talk about the ownership. I do want to talk about the Barcelona game. But let's start off with the title race. Arsenal beaten yesterday at the Emirates by Manchester City. It's funny, isn't it? Because when we didn't have Casemiro against Arsenal, all these things happen. You know, you've just got to get on with it. When Partey doesn't play for Arsenal and they get beat, if we'd have had Partey, if we'd have had Jesus. Exactly. This is exactly what United fans were saying. You beat us with a late goal and we didn't have Casemiro. I think with Casemiro, we probably wouldn't have lost that game. And you do look at United and you do look at that league table and you do look at a 5-point gap. And Arsenal have got a game in hand on us, but it's Man City that are going to win this title, I think, now. I think everybody expects that. We're 5 points behind Man City and we've played the same amount of games. Are we in a title race? I think we're in a title race if it's anybody other than Man City with 5 points on us. This Manchester City side, with all its wealth and maybe all its charges against it, is in a position of strength that nobody is. This is why Man City are dominating the English scene. I mean, I'm more than happy to say that if Man City go and win this league, what was a very exciting Premier League has basically become the Bundesliga. You know, this is the problem. Man City are just, they're too dominant. And I hope that something does happen with those charges, because it's so funny how I'm waking up this morning and everybody's waxing lyrical about Man City. It's less than a week that they've been charged with 100 charges, which is effectively cheating if they get caught. But everyone, you know, all the bloody radio stations, all the pundits, they're all smiling and, oh yeah, it's fine. I just don't feel that. I don't feel that about Man City anymore. I don't respect Man City. I don't think they're a club that I can wake up and go, oh, well done, what a good result. They are underpinned with these charges that are just dodgy. And I don't respect it. And if they do win the league, and they equal our 3 Premier League titles in a row, that's another record that they've taken with, with a massive question mark above them. So I don't enjoy what Man City are doing. I think it does demean the Premier League, and I wish the FA would just sort these charges out quickly, because if they're innocent, they're innocent, and we just have to crack on with it. But with all those charges hanging above them, it's not credible. It's not respectable. Are we back? Yeah, we're back again. Oh, I'm fucking... Oh. As soon as I talk about Man City, my bloody internet goes down. How dodgy is that? I'm losing my track of point here. But look, are we in a title race? I think, honestly, we're not in a title race because we're up against Man City. And as much as this Premier League has been brilliant, most of it has been brilliant because Man City haven't been top. But now they are top. And I just don't think, for all the credit for Arsenal and all the credit to Ten Hag, I don't think you can compete with Man City. Look at us when we go to look at us when we went to the Emirates without Casemiro. We don't have the backup. We're playing Wout Weghorst up front. With all due respect, Wout Weghorst up front in a title race, no. We couldn't even afford to replace Ronaldo in a title race. Arsenal lost Jesus in November. They've not been able to replace him, and they're relying on Nketiah, who could have scored a hat-trick yesterday. Manchester City, look at the squad that they've got. They've got Alvarez, who's one of the best strikers in the league, who can't even get on the pitch. Imagine if Arsenal had Alvarez up front last night. So I don't think we're in a title race, because I think Man City are just going to walk away with this title now. We've seen it time and time again. They're capable of going and winning their last 10 games. So people can get excited about a title race, and I do think that when you're 5 points off the top with 16 games to go, you are in a title race. But let's be real. I think that this title race is probably over. I think Man City are probably going to win it. And when you look at the games that we've got left, somebody said to me, well, Man City have got some hard games to come. Red says that Alvarez is not one of the best strikers in the league. Mate, he's just played in a World Cup and proved he's a very good striker. Name me 5 strikers better than Alvarez in this league at the moment. Potential. I'm talking potential. He's definitely better than Nketiah. It's not my fault if you don't watch football, mate. The reality is that Man City... So what we're going to pretend now that Man City are poor like everybody else, and they've already got Alvarez on the bench. It's tough. Yeah, it's really tough, isn't it, to have a striker that was playing in the bloody World Cup as your backup striker that you never use, whereas Arsenal are using Nketiah and we're using Wout Weghorst. There's levels to this game. Wealth wins prizes. That's why anybody who's against Man United being owned by wealthy people is a fool. Because if you want to win... I don't like the way football's going. I won't turn my back on football because it's been my life, but I don't like the way it's going. I don't like the way that, clubs get owned by these wealthy people and it just becomes a game of wealth. But that's the way it is. Man City will win another title because of wealth. They've won every title because of wealth. We, as Manchester United and Arsenal, cannot sit here and go, we will win in the end. Morally, we'll win in the end. We won't win in the end. The only way to win is to get wealthy owners like Man City have got. That's the only way you're going to do it. The only way to win titles is to have a bench that's better than everyone else's first team. That's the only way you're going to do it. Fair play to Man City. They figured that out before anybody else. But that's what this is all about. And I look at this league table and people go, we're in a title race. And I go, we're not in a title race. We're not in a title race because we've got the same problem that we've always had. We loaned in Wout Weghorst when we could have been in a title race, and we let Gakpo and João Felix and everybody else go everywhere else, and we loaned in Wout Weghorst. We're not in a title race because we haven't got the money to be in a title race. Money is what a title race is all about. I've looked at the last 16 games and I've highlighted the 5 hardest games we've got and the 5 hardest games Man City's got. How do we close a 5-point gap on Manchester City when their hardest games, 4 of them, are at home? 4 of their 5 hardest games are at home. And 4 of ours are away. We've got to go... These are our 5 hardest games on paper, in my opinion. Liverpool away, Brighton away, Newcastle away, Chelsea at home, Spurs away. So 4 of our hardest 5 games left are away from home. Man City's 5 hardest games, 4 of them at home. Newcastle at home, Arsenal at home, Liverpool at home, Chelsea at home, Brighton at home. How are we going to make up a 5-point gap on Man City when our 5 hardest games, 4 of them at home, and they've got 4 of them away for us and 4 of them at home for them? I don't see it. I think Man City, now they're in that box seat, We've seen it year after year. They won't give it up. I don't include Arsenal in it because if it was between us and Arsenal, I'd fancy our chances because I think Arsenal are capable of going to Southampton and dropping points. We know Man City are not capable of that. You know, Man City are playing Forest at the weekend. I mean, forget about it. Give them the weekend off. Give them the 3 points. Let Forest rest up for the weekend after. We're not in a title race, in my opinion. I'd love us to be in one, and I think that, you know, technically we are in one. But just look at the fixture list. Where are Man City going to drop 5 points? And also, what people forget is, when you look at that league table there, we're 9 points ahead of Spurs in 5th place. We've got top 4. I'll give you a positive this morning. I've never committed to United getting top 4. We have got top 4 now. I mean, we have got top 4 because 9 points ahead of 5th place. People think, well, you could drop 9 points. But what people don't realise is, even if we did lose 3 in a row and Spurs won 3 in a row, we'd only be level. Spurs have then got to keep winning. If they drop a game and we win, we go ahead of them. So that's the thing about a 5-point gap and a 9-point gap, is that it's not just closing the 9-point gap. Remember when Solskjaer took over and we were miles off top 4 and he got us into top 4 and then we just ran out of energy and bottled it again? These gaps, even if you make 5 points on Man City, you've still got to keep winning. You need Man City to lose twice just to get ahead of them. But then you've still got to keep winning, because if they start winning again and you draw, they'll go ahead of you again. So I can't see it. I don't think Arsenal can deal with Man City. I hope they can. I certainly don't think we can. So, but the positive for me is top 4. And as I said at the start of the season, you know, I was one of many that said, look, top 4 for United from where we were at the end of last season is very difficult to achieve. I think I want to focus on the positive and say that if we get top 4 this season, I don't think we should go, oh, that's disappointing. Far from it. I think Champions League football and top 4 in our first season with Ten Hag is a huge achievement that I didn't see happening. I thought it was going to be very, very difficult to do that. And I certainly think we will do it now. Mark, Balogun is better than Alvarez and he's back in the summer, says Zane Miasi. Welcome to the... Oh, Carmine and Chris, can I just give a double shout out here? They've just gifted 20 memberships each. Legends in the chat this morning, Chris and Carmine. Thank you very much for that. And make sure you say thank you in the chat. Morning, Mark. I just wanted to say thanks for the content, going through a difficult time with mental health, getting the help I need. Thanks, United Stand, says Mikhail Rach. Mikhail, you're a legend of the chat. Many people who are regulars will know your name. You've contributed on Super Chats quite regularly. And look, mate, it's always good to be open and honest about how you feel, especially when it comes to mental health. So thank you very much for sharing that. And of course, everyone in the chat and myself and involved in the United Stand wishes you all the best. And keep talking about it, mate. So have a good day. Let's hope we can beat Barcelona tonight. Chris says, I'm predicting it now. We'll win 2-0 versus Barca, says Chris. Well, Chris, look, I might be coming out. Somebody said, oh, Goldbridge is up for it this morning. I am up for it this morning. You've got to come out with your teeth baring on games like this. There's no point being a shrinking violet. We've got to be a big, thorny, beautiful rose, and we've got to come out and come for it. You know, as I said, I think that, you know, I saw this morning that, you know, I woke up this morning and was tagged in so much stuff because I said that the Premier League's better than La Liga. I say it every year. It doesn't mean, you know, if Real Madrid win the Champions League, it doesn't make La Liga better than the Premier League, by the way. It doesn't. The Premier League is better than La Liga. And I want Man United to beat Barcelona tonight. But even if we don't beat Barcelona, it doesn't mean that La Liga is better than Barcelona. La Liga, if La Liga is so good, here we go, mic drop moment. If La Liga is so good, why are Barcelona and Real Madrid desperate to get out of it to start a Super League? Desperate. Absolutely desperate to get out of it. Because it's not good. It doesn't make them enough money. The Premier League is the hardest league in the world, and therefore it's the best league in the world. And, you know, we'll see what happens tonight. But I think we've got a good chance of getting a result. But respect on Barcelona. There are some really good fans out there that aren't from Stoke and Norwich. And they, you know, that ground is fantastic. And I think we're all looking forward to it. It's a big challenge. I'm Dion from St. Lucia, only country named after a woman. I'll be here tonight when you lose to the better. You're not. You're Dan from Stoke. Stop. It's took you 20 minutes, Dan, to go and Google something exotic. You're not Dion from St. Lucia. You are Dan from Stoke. And you've got a messy kit that doesn't fit you anymore, because that's why you started supporting Barcelona in the first place. You've never been to Barcelona. You've probably never been to Spain. You hardly watch Barcelona. You just check the scores on Twitter. And you've definitely got at least one kit, full kit, with Messi on the back, and you're Dan from Stoke. It's raining outside, isn't it? Look out the window, it's raining. You're not in St. Lucia at all. You're a big liar, Dan. You've got to be quicker than that. You don't tell us you're a Barcelona fan 20 minutes ago and then come back with you're from St. Lucia. That's slow sports news. You've got to be quicker than that. Kunnell, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. I actually think our top 4 chances are strong because we're aiming higher, and that's just a bit product of that. I'm happy we're dreaming about titles, says Nick P. Look, let me just do this, because I have to do this. This is why Beth did her video yesterday, even though I don't agree with it. Are we in a title race? Yes or no, get in the poll. For me, it's a no. I've looked at the fixtures. I've looked at the table. Man City in this position probably won't lose another game. They'll probably go and win 10 in a row now. We're 5 points behind Man City. Their 5 hardest games, 4 of them are at home. Our 5 hardest games, 4 of them are away. We've got the harder run in, and we're 5 points behind a team that's a juggernaut, that's got more money than anybody else, that's got a better squad than anyone else, and basically knows how to win titles. We don't have the squad to do this. We don't have the fixture list to do this. And Man City, I'll tell you something for free. That 5-point gap to Man City will be bigger by the end of the season. If we can keep it to 5 points, I'll do a forfeit. We won't. We won't be able to do it. They are ahead of us. Eric Ten Hag knows they're ahead of us. We know they're ahead of us. It's too soon. Until we get the wealthy money, that's when we can start to challenge Man City. We can't challenge Man City at the moment because the wealth will always win through. I don't know whether anybody watched the game last night. Arsenal played really well. Man City deserved to win. They were the better side. But if Gabriel Jesus had been fit, they'd have won that game. Because Nketiah should have scored at least 2 goals. 2 more goals makes it at least a draw. City were always going to win it. We was always top 4, says Robert McCormack. And hi Mark, I suffered with mental health diagnosis, messed up my life 2015 to 2020. Serious paranoia. Just saying keep up good work, says Alex. And thank you for sharing that, Alex. I hope you're doing well. Mason says, why does it matter where he's from? We have a worldwide fan base have probably never been to Old Trafford, says Mason. Oh, God, here we go. God, here comes the fun, please. Bloody jog on, Mason. What are you talking about? We're having a bloody bit of banter. Have you seen how I've been bantered the last 24 hours by Barcelona fans? I'm giving them a bit back. Stop sticking up for them. And the reality is, I don't think Barcelona fans from Spain really give a toss about me saying the Premier League's better than La Liga. I think it's the Twitter fans who are all in the UK who get really, really aggy about it. And I've seen experience of this for years. And the reason they get aggy about it is because for some reason they've chosen to support a team from Spain instead of a team from the Premier League. And they don't like it that they're wasting their lives with a league that's not as good as the Premier League. But, you know. Hi, Mark. We've done that one. Considering where we were end of last season, top 6 finish would be a success for me. Anything better than that is a massive bonus, says Graham. I still think top 4 and I think top 4 and a trophy for Man United would be fantastic. And the reality is, by the end of this month, in 2 weeks' time, we might have already achieved it. Because if we beat Newcastle in the Carabao Cup, I think we've already got top 4 and we've got a trophy. And I think it's just about holding on to top 4 and trying to do more than that. So we'll see. Mikhail has just gifted 5 memberships. He's already a legend of the chat. Big shout out for that. It's a 7-point gap, says Simon. Simon, are you not very good at maths? I mean, it's literally right next to you. I mean, we're finding all sorts out today, aren't we? We've got Dano from Stoke, who's making up where he's from. And now we've got somebody who can't count. Apparently it's a 7-point gap. It's not a 7-point gap. It's not a 7-point gap at all. He's talking about Spurs. 7-point gap to Spurs. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. I'm not looking down. I'm looking up. We're talking about the title. I'm not talking about Spurs. Forget about Spurs. Do you want me to start bantering Spurs now? We've had a bit with Barcelona. Forget about Spurs. It doesn't matter whether it's a 7-point gap or a 10-point gap or a 2-point gap. Spurs ain't doing anything. Spurs are finished this season. They're done. Even Conte's given up. Even Conte doesn't want to be there. Spurs aren't doing anything. Don't worry about Spurs. I'm more worried about Chelsea fighting for top 4 than Spurs. Don't worry about Spurs. Leave Spurs. Don't forget it. They're done. They're closed for business. They're finished. Don't worry about Spurs. They're fine. We don't need to worry about Spurs. It's Spurs, exactly, Glazers out. I ain't worried about whether it's 7 points or 9 points with Spurs. No, even Spurs fans will be with me on this one. They ain't got no chance. They've lost Bentancur, their best player. They ain't doing anything. Don't worry about Spurs. I can't believe we're wasting time talking about Spurs. Spurs don't even have a fan channel. No one gives a shit about Spurs. They've given up. But look, I can't wait for the match tonight. I can just tell. I can just feel the mood. I can feel how people are getting really wound up, and I think it's going to be a great game. Remember, it's a 5:45 kickoff tonight. Can we just own the fact that we're up there and there's still a chance of winning it without some fear of being bantered that we think we're in the race, as Nick P? It's nice to be where we are, exactly. And it's refreshing to have both the sleeping giants, Arsenal and United, back up there competing. In a way, it's a little nostalgic. It is, Charlie. It's a shame Man City are there. John, welcome to the Members Club. And look, the sad thing will be is that, you know, that title race is also fake, isn't it? Because if Man City have done what they've done, they shouldn't even be in this league. And that's the thing. That's the problem I've got this morning. We're not waking up to rumours. They've been charged with 100 offences, 100 charges against them, and they're still top of our league. I don't get why TalkSport and Sky and BT and everyone else is getting excited about Man City and well done, well done, well done. They've got a massive list of cheating charges against them. And we're meant to just go, oh, it's great they're in a title race. I just don't find it credible anymore. I don't. Speaking to somebody last night, very high up in football, in the media, and they were like, I really did not enjoy last night having to talk about it because it's wrong. They're either innocent or they're guilty. But you can't just leave it for years going through the court system and everyone forgets about it. It needs to get sorted out quickly because they're not credible. They're not a credible football club at the moment. And they can chant and boo the Premier League if they like, and I get that. That's tribalism. I feel sorry for Man City fans in many ways because they have got some amazing fans. Like they were in League One when they were a proper club and they had 35,000 people turning up. Everybody needs this sorting out quickly because it was a great result for them last night and they played very well and they will win another league and they'll win 3 Premier Leagues in a row. But you know what people are going to say about that. They're going to say, well, you did it through cheating until it gets found out. Morning, hope you're well. Absolutely buzzing for European football back. Roll on Barcelona, says Wayne Finnegan. They're getting thumped. Hi, Mark. If mega rich owners come and offered you a huge deal for United Stand to be a social media arm of MUTV and gave us a role as head comms, would you do it? Says Ash. They wouldn't do it. Tav, welcome to the Members Club. And Man City were showing signs of vulnerability not that long ago. What happened? Is it the win versus Arsenal? And what's their depth like? Any possible issues? Says Patrick. If you look at Man City, Manchester City always show a bit of vulnerability in the first 5 months of the season. In the last 4 months of the season, they just tear it apart. So Man United used to do that. It's actually a Sir Alex Ferguson trick. As soon as you hit January, you get into gear, and that's what tends to happen. Anyway, I don't think we're in a title race, but if you do, well done. And I'm going to remove that now because I just don't think we're in one. And as I said, I'm not saying that without thinking about it. I'm saying that by actually looking at the fixtures left. Somebody wrongly, we were doing a watch along last night on That's Football, said that Man United have got a better run in than Man City. I looked at it this morning. We haven't. We've got to go to Liverpool, Brighton, Chelsea. No, we've got to go to Liverpool, Brighton, Newcastle and Spurs. Man City's hardest game left away is Brighton away. Everyone else they've got to play at home, which is probably why they've had a bit of a bad start to the season by their standards, because they've had to go to Old Trafford, they've had to go to Emirates, they've had to go to Spurs, they've had to go to Newcastle. That's where they've dropped all their points. If the league started the day Ronaldo left, United would be top by 5 points. What are our thoughts on the little nugget that little nugget of facts, says Charlie? Well, I don't think that correlates with why. To be honest, mate, I don't, Charlie. I think we wouldn't win. How do I explain this? I don't think we would have won the league because Ronaldo stopped playing for Man United. We won't win the league because we haven't got the squad that Man City have got. That's it for me. They've got ridiculous wealth and they've got a ridiculous squad. We don't. Arsenal don't. Spurs don't. That's why we can't compete with them at the moment, and that's why the next thing we're going to talk about is so important. So we're 24 hours away from the soft deadline for Manchester United bids. There's been so much talk about the bids. I wanted to just spend a minute or two just talking about what the situation is with Manchester United. And this is not from bloody, cheap, football correspondent who's on tour with United in Barcelona at the moment. This is from business. This is from business papers. This is from business journalists. This is where we are in relation to the sale of Manchester United. The next 24 hours are really significant. We've had loads of rumours over the last 3 months since the Glazers put Man United up for sale. Tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, or it might be 11 o'clock actually, there is a soft deadline for people to put a bid in. What do people have to do to be in the running to buy Manchester United? By tomorrow night, they've got to do two things. They've got to do a short written bid for Manchester United, expressing their interest to bid for Manchester United, and they've also got to have proof of funds. So tomorrow night, that is when it's got to be done by. And I would imagine tomorrow and probably Saturday, we're going to get a lot of updates, hopefully, about who those people are. Because at the moment, the only public bidder is Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Qatar have been very public in the stories, but there's no confirmation on that yet. So tomorrow night, everybody who wants to bid for Man United has got to put it in writing, and they've got to show that they've got the proof of the funds as well. After that, we're into the equation of what the Glazers want to do. Now, there is this really important thing to talk about. Let City beat Arsenal again and then impose the ban, then we're in a title race with so much support for Barca. I can only see us beating them, says Kanishka. This Man City ban is not going to happen for years. They're not going to get points deducted this season. But, you know, we need to get in front of Arsenal. City are going down, says Bogtrotter. So, effectively, just wanted to say thank you for the channel, Mark, says Joshua. Thank you very much. Effectively, what happens after tomorrow is the obvious question. And thanks for your first ever super chat, Joshua. I see it says celebrate your first super chat. What happens after tomorrow? So let's imagine tomorrow night that Man United get 6 bits of paper with 6 serious bidders who've got the money and want to bid for Man United. Because that's what happens. The bid doesn't go in tomorrow night. So Jim Ratcliffe doesn't put his bid in tomorrow night. He just expresses in writing his intention to bid and his proof of funds. Then we go to stage 2. Well, tomorrow night's the 17th of February and bids haven't even gone in. For some reason, it's been put out there ever since the sale of Man United was announced in November that they want the sale done by March. And people wrongly or rightly assumed that that meant we'll be in new hand owners by the end of March, and therefore Ten Hag will get the green light to go and start buying players. I don't see how that can happen. And there was one particular business journalist saying this morning. How can this happen? They're not even... The only way this could have happened is if when they said they were selling the club in November, they already had a buyer in mind who'd looked at all the books and there'd been loads of advanced talks. That has not happened. Nobody has, tomorrow night, it's expressions of interest, serious. Then, it's not even the final bids. Then, when the final bid goes in, you've got to go through all the due diligence and all the looking at the books and everything. We might still be under the Glazers technically in the summer. I don't know how likely that is, but what I do know is that we are nearly at the end of February and we're still not at the point where there's a bidding war. And even then, the Glazers have got to accept it. And even then, whoever is accepted has got to go through all the legal stuff to acquire the club. And Liverpool and Real Madrid right now are trying to get Bellingham. I don't know whether people realise this, but we can't start negotiating for Jude Bellingham or anyone else when we don't even know if we're getting new owners until May, June, July. How can we buy the players we want when the new owners aren't in place? And the new owners can't say, don't worry about it, we will get the club at some point, so just go and buy players. That's not how it's going to work. I think there's a serious conversation to be had about what the summer transfer window is going to look like, considering there isn't any major urgency from the Glazers to move this quickly. And this has always been the case. People have wrongly assumed that we will be in the hands of new owners by the end of March. They'll be there going, hello, no chance. Not a chance is that going to happen. The Glazers don't even know who they're selling to yet. They may not sell. I think they will. Tomorrow is the first deadline for expressions of serious interest. When is it that people have got to put their final bid in? Because that might be another month. What if Sir Jim and another 4 people put their paper in tomorrow night and the Glazers go, right, you can have a look at, you can deep dive and look at all the finances and everything now. That's going to take time. And then we want bids in by the middle of March. Another month. and then they take their time to look at the bids and go at the start of April, right, we want to go with you. They don't walk in on the 1st of April. They're new owners, but they've still got to go through all the due diligence and everything and all the checks. I do have concerns. I think there's just this assumption that in the summer we're just going to blitz it with loads and loads of signings, and you can't sell a football club in 2 months, and we've not even really started the process yet. All we've done is publicly say the club's up for sale. People think that these last 2 months since November things have been going on. They haven't really. It's just been about stirring up interest. It only really starts tomorrow when people put their papers in to say we want to bid for the club. They haven't bid yet. I can see. Look, I don't want to alarm people. I saw an article 2 days ago, and they said Chelsea's 3-month turnaround to buy the club was because of extraordinary circumstances, because of what was going on with Russia and Ukraine, and the government got involved, and that was a super fast sale. That was done in 3 months. So a United sale is unlikely to be done that quickly, somewhere between 3 months and 12 months to get it all done. I mean, we could just completely lose the summer on this sale. So, look, is that being negative? No, I think it's being realistic, because I think what people are not realising is that the only people in control of this are the Glazers, and the Glazers don't give two shits about the summer transfer window. They're not going to rush a sale through because United need to buy players in the summer. They won't be owners of United in the summer. Do you think the Glazers are going to rush it through and maybe lose $1 billion in what they could get by creating a bidding war? They don't give a shit about the summer transfer window. I don't know why people keep talking about, well, we'll be in new hands by the summer because we need a summer transfer window. Why does that impact on the Glazers? All they want is the highest price. If waiting till the summer means they get the highest price, they'll do it, and we'll lose another transfer window. So I think the process is moving quite slow. Hopefully it will end up with us getting the right owners, but the process is moving quite slow. Who's going to bid for Manchester United tomorrow is important. Sean says people are hating United potentially getting rich owners because what we are doing now with limited funds is so exciting. And Mark, I have a feeling it will be a good night, says Mikael Roach. I hope so, really hope so. I'm going to talk about Barcelona in a minute. Legend says we will have new owners by the summer. You've got absolutely no idea what you're talking about, but I hope you're right. And we can't allow City to win the Premier League 3 times in a row. We need to take responsibility as a club and do our best to stop them, not rely on other teams. How do we do that, Ty? We're not playing them again. We played them twice. We beat them last month. It's not in our hands. We can't. It's not in our hands to stop Man City. Even if we won every single game, there's no guarantee that we'd close a 5-point gap. Man City might not drop another 5 points this season. They're capable of it. Even the good things are to come. I feel some restrictions around United. It just feels weird, Goldie. Hopefully it all goes smooth, says Harsh. And Mark, do you think I'm right in being positive on our season so far? I think you're 100% right in being positive on our season so far, JR. I think we are exceeding expectation. I said at the start of the season that I didn't think top 4 was realistic with where we'd come from. And the reason I said that is because I felt it was unfair to put that sort of pressure on Ten Hag. And I know Robert did. I know Robert's watching. He was like, with that team, you should be getting top 4. But we haven't been getting top 4 consistently for 10 years. So I don't think we can suddenly say that with a new manager, that he's got to go and get top 4 in his first season. I think to get top 4 and where we are is amazing. And if we can get a trophy with that, I think it's fantastic, because we get top 4 and we win a trophy for the first time in 5 years. To me, that at the end of May would be remarkable. But of course, I don't want to settle for that. We want more. We've always got to go for more, and Ten Hag will want more. Mark, did you see Mbappe's Instagram post with the translation saying Manchester United? Can you make any sense of it? Says Chris. Well, I don't make any sense of it, because I've seen players that didn't sign for United like posts about them coming to Man United in the summer before, so I don't really take any notice of it. As I said yesterday, Kylian Mbappe to Manchester United could easily happen if we get Qatar owners, because Qatar owns PSG. But until that happens, I wouldn't start reading too much into it. There's a bidding war for Man United. Qatar may well win it, but they haven't won it yet. We are in a title race, but we're not winning it, says Hashir. Working in finance, you're spot on your assessment on the takeover. A deal of this magnitude takes time with all the regulatory compliances required, says Hashir. Mark, are you confident for tonight's fixture, says Chung? Look, Barcelona are the favourites, but I believe we can get something tonight. And I bet that if Qatar buy United, they'll try to buy Hotel Football off Gary Neville, says Glennie. Well, the rejuvenation of Manchester is already well up and running, as Gary Neville will shout from the rooftops. He's been a big part of that. Manchester is booming. The traffic's a bloody nightmare, but you know, I've said this before. 10 years ago, there was a very distinct gap between Old Trafford and Manchester City Centre. You know, it was quite a, you know, there wasn't a lot going on. It's all industrial. You look at it now, and the city centre is getting bigger, and it's creeping closer and closer and closer to Old Trafford, and it won't be long before they're linked. You know, Manchester's growing without investment from Qatar. But look, I read something yesterday that there's concerns from Qatar that there's not enough 5-star hotels in Manchester. Well, maybe they're going to go and build a load. I don't know, but it's. The question is who's going to bid tomorrow night, and I've said this a few times, and I've seen a few people say it. I hope there's other people who come in and bid. That doesn't mean I don't want Qatar or I don't want Sir Jim, but I think the more options, the better. Obviously, we don't have any say in it anyway, but I think there'll be 5 or 6 bids tomorrow, and we only know what 2 of them are. Now, this is what I wanted to talk about. Who else is going to bid for Man United? Somebody said it in the chat, and I was going to say this anyway. Who else will bid for Manchester United? Well, Qatar will bid. Sir Jim will bid. Who are the other ones? I think there's an American consortium in there. I do. I'd like to know more about it, because I'm not xenophobic and I don't really care if the next owner is American. Just because the Glazers are shit. The Glazers could have been from Mexico. They could have been from Australia. Their intention was to buy us on debt and bleed us dry. That doesn't mean every American owner would do that. There's talk of a Saudi Arabian bid, which would be similar to the Qatar bid. So obviously Saudi Arabia has an ownership of Newcastle and Qatar has an ownership of PSG. But they can create these separate companies or separate entities that are still very rich. So Saudi Arabia could still bid for Manchester United. Elon Musk has still been mentioned. I'd bloody love somebody like Apple or someone like that to come in. I don't know whether they will. So I'm hoping there's 2 or 3 left field bids that are really attractive, because I think United, as much as people are excited by Sir Jim and they're excited by Qatar, I think there are certain bids that could be better than both of those, that would be more palatable to the fan base. Because there are aspects of that. I was reading about the Sir Jim Radcliffe bid this morning, and it was, you know, it was again mentioning that, you know, he's persuaded JP Morgan and another financial institution to back him on the bid, and you wonder what that backing is. Why do you need a financial institution involved, especially one that was trying to fund the Super League? So look, there are concerns, of course there are, and I hope there are some bit more bids to come in, because, you know, the more the merrier. But ultimately, we won't have any say in it anyway. It'll be down to the Glazers, won't it? That they will decide what happens. But my big concern at the moment is how long this process is going to take. I think quite wrongly we've all assumed that this was going to be this would be dealt with really, really quickly, and there's actually no reason for it to be dealt quickly, because there's the best intentions for the football club actually aren't a factor here. All this is the Glazers own something and they want to get as much money as they can for it. That's the only motivation. Our intention, our interests, Ten Hag's interests, the benefit for the club in the summer to have a good summer transfer window, they're not relevant. On a list of things that are relevant to the Glazers in the sale of Manchester United, us having a good summer transfer window or what the fans want will be right down near the bottom. They don't care. In fact, I've said a few times, I think they will be quite, willing and looking forward to screwing us over again, because ultimately they probably never wanted to sell United. They probably wanted to take us into a Super League and keep, bleeding us dry. So they're probably very resentful of what the fans have done. So I can't imagine for 1 minute they're going, yeah, let's get this done nice and quickly so the new owners can come in like the heroes and get a new summer transfer window. They might be vindictive enough to go, whatever happens, we don't want the deal to be done until August the 31st, so they can't buy anybody. They might be that. They might do that. Ultimately, I think if the Rain Group, who are selling Manchester United, said to the Glazers, you can sell it in mid March, and then the new owners will have time to start building the club for the summer transfer window, and you'll get about 4.5 billion. But if you hold out until the middle of the summer, you'll get 5.5 billion. They're going to take 5.5 billion. They'll take as long as it takes to get the bid they want. That's the bottom line, and we've just got to hope that that's quick. There is a chance City drop points against the Big Six, but United needs to do its job consistently. Is there a possibility of the bidders trying to close the deal soon for the transfer window? Yeah, well, Kanishka's right. The bidders might want to get it done quick, but ultimately, you've got to win the bid. I'm sure Qatar and Sir Jim Radcliffe would want to buy Man United tomorrow so they can start building the club the day after. But they've got to win the bidding war first. You can't start dictating to the Glazers, look, we will buy United for 5 billion or 6 billion, but we want this deal done by the 31st of March, when you haven't even won the bid yet. And it's how long they're going to take the bidding process. We'll find out more tomorrow. The club had already given a hint that the next summer transfer window will be more difficult than the previous one, says Div. Yeah, they did. And Newcastle had only one suitor, and Mike Ashley was keen to sell, and it took forever. It will take a long time, says Reeves. Yeah, I don't know what... I never understood that. I never understood why, even from March, proper journalists were saying United hope to have a sale done by the end of the first quarter, which is the end of March. But I just don't know how that can happen. 6 weeks, and we haven't even had the successful bid yet. So we'll have to wait and see. Right, but obviously we've got a big, massive game tonight. It's against Barcelona. If you're not aware, it's a 4:45 UK time kickoff. So we're going to be live at about 4:45 for the team news. I think the team news is probably going to be the most predictable team news we've ever had, because we've got so many injuries out at the moment. But you know what? I do think that with the injuries that we have to the likes of Anthony and Martial and McTominay and Ericsson, and Sabitzer can't play, and Martinez can't play, and Donny's injured, I think it's going to be a team that's going to have to perform as 11 players, and we won't have a lot of options on the bench. But I still think we can get a result. I think Casemiro back is massive. It's dangerous. It's always dangerous in the new camp. They're a very good team. They're playing very, very well. They don't concede many goals. My feeling is that this will be quite tight. We might lose it 1-0. It might be 1-1. But my feeling is it'll be quite tight. But you've always got to be wary that we could score first and end up with a really good away win. You've also got to be wary that they could score first and take it 2-3-0. The big thing I'm going to say to you is get ready for this. This is not the Premier League. This is the Europa League. This is, in some ways it's good, but in some ways it's bad. This is not Premier League officiating, which some people would say great because they're crap. But European referees are very frustrating in relation to what they deem to be a free kick. And Barcelona, when Xavi used to play in midfield, have always been a team that is very clever at winning free kicks. So I expect a lot of free kicks. I expect a lot of, those sort of tactics, because Barcelona especially have done that for years. I mean, look at, that's just what's going to happen. So I think we're going to have to be patient. And I think we're going to have to be very wary of, people like Fred can't be picking up early yellow cards because we've got no replacement for Fred. So we've got to be disciplined, organised, and I think it'll be challenging. I do think it'll be challenging. I expect they'll have a lot of the ball. But Marcus Rashford's key, Bruno's key, Casemiro's key. Fred's got to be disciplined, and I don't think it's diving, Luanda. I just think it's clever. It's also what they'll do is they'll foul us in our own half. Pep's the master of this. You make the foul in the opposition's half because there's less chance of a yellow card, and you break up the play before they get to a dangerous area. So I expect all those things. It's the principles of Barcelona that Pep's brought to Man City as well. And Lewandowski, I don't think we've spoken about Lewandowski enough. Lewandowski, for me, is the best striker in the world. He's the best finisher in the world. So I don't think Lewandowski's been spoken about much in this game, and he is still the best striker in the world as far as I'm concerned. So there's a lot of danger in this game, and of course we could get beat 3 or 4-0. I don't think anyone is ignoring that fact, but I don't. It's like what Luke Shaw said yesterday. I don't feel that we're in that position as a football club now. Every game of this type is a test as to where we are as a football club now, and I don't feel that we're that sort of club that can do that. Is this Rashford consistency here to stay? Says Sam. The only concern I have about Rashford is fitness, and his fitness this year has been remarkable. He has been fouled a couple of times. You know, he is playing loads of games. Whatever he has done with his body over the last 8 months is remarkable, because for the 2 years before that, he was, you know, struggling with a lot of things, and some of the injuries he's had, the back injury especially, is not easy to get over. So at the moment, I think the biggest concern with Rashford is fitness, but his fitness is absolutely fine. So the consistency will be there. And look, Rashford's had some bad games recently, but it's a bit like Haaland last night. I thought for a large portion of that game, Haaland was not in it. And somebody was like, oh, Arsenal have done what we've done. They've kept him quiet. They're going to get a result. And I said, but the trouble is, you can't say that till 90 minutes, because it only takes a minute for someone like Haaland or Rashford to make a game. And there's been a couple of times recently where Rashford's not had a brilliant overall game, but he'll go and score a really important goal. And that's what it's all about. It's that consistency is making a contribution at some point in the game, every game, and that's what Rashford's doing, and that consistency is very hard to keep up with. Hi Mark, they've won all 11 games on the trot since the year started. I'm not optimistic, says Yosh, talking about Barcelona. Well, but you know what? The interesting thing is, I watched PSG play Bayern Munich on Tuesday night in Paris, and Bayern Munich were by far the better team. What does that tell you? PSG's starting 11 against Bayern Munich's starting 11 makes it look like it's a really close game. But the Bundesliga is clearly on a different level to the French league. They absolutely dominated them at times, and they were the away side. So Bayern Munich are better than PSG, even though PSG have got some fantastic players. This is what we're going to discover tonight. You know, Manchester United against the best team in La Liga. Is there a difference in the intensity and fitness and speed of the game? I don't think there will be. I agree with Ten Hag. I think that Barcelona, Real Madrid, it doesn't really matter what the quality of La Liga is. Those two teams are teams that are able to mix it up no matter what, because they've got experience and quality to do that. But, you know, who knows? Who knows? You know, we could get beat 4-0, we could win 2-0. Also, keep in mind for tomorrow, we have two major Camp Nou veterans with us who can certainly give us some insights, as Marcus led. It is tonight, by the way. Having Varane and Dante develops this point. Having Varane and Casemiro with us for the new camp will be big. Bring it back to Old Trafford, and Parcer's young team may be overwhelmed from the atmosphere, says Dante. Welcome to Members Club, Otto. I think that's the most important thing. You know, Spurs lost 1-0 at the San Siro against AC Milan, but I think they've got a great chance back in London, because that's not unretrievable. I think the big thing for us tonight is to remember that it's only half time at the end of the game. We need to bring that game back to Old Trafford. In some ways, you know, a 1-0 loss wouldn't be too bad, because Old Trafford would be rocking and we'd absolutely go for them. And if you get an early goal, then the whole game in the new camp doesn't matter. A 1-0 loss tonight's not the end of the world. 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, I think forget about it. A draw, magnificent. Obviously a win, unbelievable. But I agree with Dante. I think if we can take this back to Old Trafford, I've seen Real Madrid go to Anfield in the past in the Champions League and get absolutely battered. You can overwhelm them in an English ground like Anfield and Old Trafford and Highbury. Not Highbury anymore. Can't really see the Emirates. They've not been in the Champions League for years. But we could do, but we've got to bring it back. And I think that's how Ten Hag will approach this. I think he will be very... Look, our defence is good. Whether it's Varane and Shaw or it's Varane and Martinez, it's good. Casemiro in front of it, it's good. We are defensively good. That's our big strength tonight. We are defensively good. So if we play to our consistency levels of defence, we shouldn't be getting beat. Hi Mark, just found out I'm going to be an IT team leader for the first time. Also just announced my debut album, United Win Would Be a Day to Remember, says Tom Grant. He's having a good day, is Tom. Well done, pal. Absolutely fantastic. Real Madrid battered Liverpool at Anfield, says Jeff. Yeah, you're obviously not thinking about the game I'm talking about, mate. Malacia turns up to big challenges too, says Colum. And remember, Scouse is beating Barca 4-0 at Anfield, coming back from losing 3-0 in the Nou Camp. It's always possible. It's always possible. But it's also, let's be honest, didn't Barcelona do that against PSG a few years ago as well, at the Nou Camp? That the second leg being, we've got the better draw here. The second leg being at Old Trafford, they'd feel exactly the same if the second leg was at the Nou Camp. You do have a bigger opportunity when you have got the second leg at your place. But if you lose 3 or 4-0 in the first leg, it doesn't matter whether you've got the home advantage, because you're going to find it very, very difficult. We've kept the poll running all through the game, all through the stream. 11,000 people have voted. Are United in a title race? 45% of you say yes. 55% of you say no. The honest answer is, when you're 5 points off the top, you are in a title race. But when it's Manchester City and they've got the better run-in, you're not in a title race. So we are in one, but we're not going to win it. You have to put yourself in one when you're 5 points off the top, but we're not going to win it. As I said, if you've tuned in a little bit late, Man City's 5 hardest games left are Newcastle home, Arsenal home, Liverpool home, Chelsea home, Brighton away. Our 5 hardest games left are Liverpool away, Brighton away, Newcastle away, Chelsea at home, Spurs away. They've got the better running, they've got the experience, they've got the wealth, they've got the know-how. Man City will finish above us, so we won't be in a title race ultimately. But we need to. The more somebody said it earlier, and they're absolutely spot on. We need to believe we're in a title race for as long as possible, because if we keep winning, there ain't no chance we're not finishing in the top 4, and that was the aim at the start of the season. So top 4 and a trophy. That would be a great season for Man United to start off with for Ten Hag. Do you think that? And I just want to say as well, winning a trophy, whether it's the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, or the Europa League, don't underestimate that. This team hasn't won anything for 5 years. Winning something changes a team. The ability to lift the trophy and hold a winner's medal changes a team. You believe more. Very important that we get that done this year. Astro says, do you think De Gea will be on his best for today? Big game for De Gea. Big game for the defence. I think he'll be busy tonight. But at the end of the day, got to keep people like Lewandowski quiet. Thanks everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Don't forget, we will be live at 4:45 tonight, because it's a 5:45 kickoff UK time. So it's an early evening game. Can't wait for it. So excited. And don't forget, there's a lot of Barcelona fans who are very sensitive, who are hoping they can beat us. So they've got their tweets all in the drafts already that La Liga is better than the Prem, which it won't be. Even if Barcelona beat us 6-0, it still won't be better than the Prem. The Prem's still better than La Liga. It's a fact. Thanks everyone for watching. Speak to you in a bit. Don't forget to smash a like on the video and subscribe. Also, live chat. United stand on tour in the March international break. Get your tickets. Looking forward to seeing you. Loads of things planned for that. They're going to be brilliant shows. Get your tickets while you can. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Thanks for watching.